Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Live from the Blue Seats. It's producer JL coming at you after a week hiatus, and joining me today is none other than you know him. I think you love him. He's a guy. It's Dave. Hi, Dave. How you doing?
Well, I am most definitely a guy, and I am most definitely Dave. So yes, you are accurate.
He is Dave,
Uh,
but he's not David Letterman. That's different.
Nobody, nope, nope. What did Zach Galifianakis call him? It was
It was in
something.
between the ferns, but I don't remember
Yeah, it was like some kind of Santa Claus,
because he has the big white bushy
or it
beard.
was like Jewish Santa Claus or something like that. I don't remember,
Well,
but no.
he's not Jewish, though. That's the funny part.
I don't know. I got nothing. Anyway, I do not look good with facial hair, and my 2-year-old gets mad and cries whenever I forget to shave. So no, I do not grow out facial hair the way David Letterman has. But other than that, I am good. My I had a very good fantasy football draft. At least one out of the two went very well. My 2-year-old so far is actually sleeping now, so it only took her. We actually didn't have a fight today for her, so that was nice. Um,
I love how these descriptions are basically man who is describing middle-aged life.
hey, listen, I am pretty
Well, you're not
good
really
with where
middle-aged.
I am in life. I am middle aged, Technically, I've lived at least half my life at this point. As my wife walks in, looks at me, and says, "What the hell?" I mean, what? I'm 41. At,
Oh, I thought you were 39. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you are.
oh,
You are
I'm
middle-aged.
41, so half my life would make me 82. I want to still be able to wipe my own ass, so we'll see how far that gets me in life. If I can't wipe my own ass, then, I have instructed my wife to do what is needed.
But will she do it? That's the question.
She's Russian.
So no.
She might be the one that forces me to not be able to wipe my own ass. There's a lot of discussion about wiping my own ass. It's a little bit awkward. Can we move on?
You brought it up,
I blame you.
as you always do. Anyways,
That's just how it works. How you doing?
I'm okay. I'm alive. I had a bit of a asthma scare. Well, not really a scare. It's just stuff I go through, and so I just needed some time to rest. But I'm okay. Change of season tends to affect the people who are breathing compromised. Is that a politically correct term? I don't know. But I'm alive. I'm here. I'm kicking. You know, um, it's been a very weird start of the fall, even though the fall doesn't technically start until the 21st. But yeah, and my baseball team sucks. That's fun.
Every baseball
Um,
team sucks.
my
Every New
football
York
team,
baseball team sucks.
yeah, my football team lost a close game against an anti-vaxxer who was on my team last season and didn't do the thing that he was really supposed to do.
You had to bring up the Jets. You had to bring up the
Of
Jets.
course I'm going to bring up the Jets. Why would I not bring up the Jets?
Uh,
I'm here commiserating. They're part of the commiseration, and then obviously, the Rangers are, the Rangers, we'll find out in a couple of weeks, and we'll certainly get the overreactions of how they'll play. But transitioning into Rangers, David, um, before I say anything, I sounded like freaking Alexis from Schitt's Creek. Ew, David. Um, great show, by the way.
yes, very good show. Very good
It's
show.
good show. Yeah, Annie Murphy's one of my favorites. Anyways, um, so it's what's today? We're recording this on September 11th, right?
Hmm.
And outside of the obvious, that you could leave that to the other people to talk about. Um, there really hasn't been much going on with hockey. I mean, so the day that we record this, which is September 11th, the Rangers and the Flyers are going to play a weekend series in Lehigh Valley, which would be the Rangers prospects versus the Flyers prospects. And actually, I just remembered this. This is an interesting thing. I guess we could chat about this real quick, talking about young players. Brennan Othman is on the rookie on that rookie showcase list again for the third season in a row.
Isn't
And
this his like fourth time doing it?
I
That was
saw
fourth.
third, but it would make sense if it was fourth. It's either third or fourth.
Okay.
It's interesting to note that they're still bringing him along, and I'm assuming they probably have done this for other prospects, but I'm guessing he's trying to maybe max out the most that he can. What are your thoughts on that, Dave?
So the first thing I did was Google how old Brett Berard was because he was notably absent. Berard's he just turned 23, and Othman. I just want to make sure I don't misspeak. Othman hasn't turned 23 yet. He'll turn 23 in January. So there's a year, technically speaking, a year gap there. I wouldn't read too much into this. It's simply Berard was the Berard. Othman was the oldest of the rookies that could get by with being in rookie camp. They named him captain. What was it? Perot and Morrow are the alternates, and I think this is their first year in rookie camp as well, at least
Mm-hmm.
for the Rangers. Morrow definitely. I don't think Perot was there last year. Those are the three that are at camp that have the best shots at making it on the roster this year. I think Berard. I think if anything, this means Berard's a shoe in for the roster, and I think because Othman was named captain, they view him high enough to let him guide some of the youth and also use it as a bit of an extended look because this is something at 23 years old or 22 years old, turning 23, he should dominate. He should.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he will, we'll see. But he should be able to treat this the way he would treat, say, an overage season in the OHL.
Right. And I guess the interesting thing to kind of note is you know, I pulled up the list and uh some pretty interesting names here, but now that you mention it, you're 100% right because, or at least I think you're probably close to being right. Don't know exactly the Rangers' intentions, so to speak, but you would have to assume that that's the case. And then also, I guess, like you said, it's an extended like camp for him, and I think there was a quote that came out. Um, I think he changed his like workout routine. So he was working out with, I think it was at like Draisaitl and McDavid and like McKinnon and a couple other people, and he said he needed a change. And I think from just watching him play last season and then kind of looking at maybe something that he could improve, working out with those types of guys who are all really good puck handlers and good puck hoggers pretty much to a degree. Um, they they you could probably tell the type of game that he's trying to play with the Rangers. So like he's trying to be more, stronger on the puck, quicker with the puck. If you're training with those types of guys, that's essentially what you're trying to look for. And good for the kid, honestly, for trying to, improve things because, you don't want to call someone who's 22 years old, clearly, look at Dave. But sorry I had to do it. Um
I'm leaving it be.
Well,
Leaving
you
it
can handle the
be.
pot shots, for in other situations. But anyways, but he's he was drafted in 21. I think finally ended up coming to the AHL in like what 23. So still pretty young, still has a lot to go. But I think this is good for him. Although like it did throw me off that he was there for this. But I guess he's still young. He could probably guide a lot of these guys. One of the interesting names that I see on here, and I think some of the questions talk about some of these guys, which I'll leave to that. But Noah Laba's on the team. Obviously Gabe Perreault, obviously there as well. He can strut his stuff when he can. Callum Tongue on the goaltending aspect. he is on the team as well. He could be pretty decent from what I've heard. So, and then obviously Adam Sikora, Kerry Terrence, who just today was going out net front, deflecting pucks. He was the guy that the Rangers acquired in the Chris Kreider trade. Apparently, he's also a bit of a sleeper for a roster spot down the line. But speaking of roster spots, so we probably have spoken about this ad nauseum to a degree, but I think us getting closer to the preseason and then in the regular season, we could probably try and kind of get a better gauge on this. But out of this list of players here, which ones do you think would more than likely make the team this season? And I'm going to also say next season as well. Out of the basically rookies and kids they have on the team, obviously, like you said, Brett Berard is essentially a lock. I think that's a player that I think that Mike Sullivan really likes to utilize and could probably do well. But I guess out of this crop of players here, who do you think is more likely to make the roster? And obviously, other players if you want to add in from, different aspects of like the team and whatnot.
So are you talking about guys who are at rookie camp or just kids in general?
Both veterans,
So
kids, primarily kids.
got it. Got it. All right. So I think Berard's a shoo-in. I think Berard is the type of player that Sully loves. But he's not on the rookie camp roster. As for a rookie camp roster, I'm going to break this down into breaks camp with the Rangers and midseason call-up. Breaks camp, Ottman, and Scott Morrow. People are sleeping on Scott Morrow, and they shouldn't be. He is extremely good, in my opinion. His numbers support it, though it was Carolina, so grain of salt required. He is a great puck mover, solid skater. People are looking at his 5 goals against in the series against Carolina, but I think he got like a 760 save percentage while he was on the ice. I mean, Carolina's goaltending was just brutal that series. I think people are sleeping on him. I think he actually makes the roster, and that means Braden Schneider winds up as the second pairing left defenseman. But in terms of midseason call-up, I think once we have an injury in the top 6, Perreault gets the call. I think once we have an injury in the bottom 6, assuming it's a winger, Sikora gets the call. Adam Sikora. And I think Dylan Rubrick will get a very, very, very long look. I don't think he will get to the Rangers this year unless there's significant injuries down the middle. But I expect Rubrick to get a long look. And, if the injury bug really, really rears its ugly head, then yeah, he'll get a call up. But I think Rubrick is more next year. I think Noah Lava is more next year as well. And dark horse Jackson Darrington next year. Hope is very high on Jackson Darrington.
Yeah, I was thinking about him as well. I saw some pretty good stuff about him. I definitely liked what I read about him in terms of just like overall, just like defensive skill. And yeah, she is very high on him, so that definitely plays a part in my analysis. She's a very good, at least analyzer of prospects. If you haven't had a chance to check out some of the stuff she puts out for the blog, please do. She does a really good job, and
yes, she does
in Hartford, but she does a really good job analyzing prospects. So if you haven't already done so, do so. So I guess you kind of hit most of what I was going to say too. Obviously, I really do think Scott Morrow will make the team. I don't want to say from what I was able to gather from him, I don't want to call him Adam Fox light because he probably possesses a slightly different skill set.
And there are a lot of people in the not a lot, but there's at least a very loud minority that thinks Adam Fox is worthless and should be traded. But anyway,
don't even get me started on that. I mean, come on. Which I will say though, props to Fox for not being satisfied, considering that he's still pretty damn good and that he's trying to get past a lot of these injury woes. Because I think a lot of people tend to forget that you need your legs as a defenseman.
We do.
Apparently so. we sit here and,
Oh,
some fans online, we moan and complain about guys like Ryan Lindgren, uh, Ben Harper, Florida Panthers professional tryout Ben Harper, and other players who don't seem to really move well. And you could even talk about, Carson Saucy. So like
Connor Saucy.
Connor Sau I was trying to say Connor. I was thinking Connor McDavid, but um, so Carson Soucy, but Carson Soucy still has some mobility at least. But we have to remember though that everybody, Adam Fox has sustained 2 or 3 huge knee injuries over the last 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons. So it's unfair to really get on him for that. So credit to Fox for wanting to get better, even though he puts up, Norris type numbers. Um, but I think I really this is why I was so happy with the Keandre Miller trade, because he is essentially Scott Morrow, can I use the word antithesis? I don't think I can in that comparison. I'm just trying to make sure that I use the terminology properly. But Scott Morrow is the complete opposite of what Keandre Miller is as a hockey player.
The
That's no
anti
knock to him.
Keandre Miller.
He's the anti Keandre Miller, and that's no knock
Yeah.
to Miller. He had his skill set, but we knew we were getting what we got with him, and it wasn't going to get any better. So I think Scott Morrow has a really. I think he could probably be a power play 2 quarterback, something that we kind of wanted in Zach Jones a little bit. Which good luck to him in Buffalo. I'll be seeing him in a month. But
Oh yeah.
I
Alongside
like
Alexander Georgiev.
alongside Alexander Georgiev, who signed with the Buffalo Sabres today.
Yep.
His sub 700 save percentage. Um, Dylan Rubrick, I'm kind of before I get to Rubrick, I think Carey Terrence. You talk about depth. I think depending on just the type of player that he is, where he is like kind of like a crap disturber, I think he probably gets a look at some point if it gets really bad. But I think Carey Terrence is probably here sooner than most think. That's like a bottom 6 kind of guy, maybe like third line kind of
Yeah.
player. But that's it's the good of having a lot of players who are good. Bryce McConnell Barker, I'm surprised has not made the leap yet. He got drafted. There was some expectation about him, at least from what I can recall. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe this is just me that McConnell Barker could turn into a good 2-way kind of guy.
I
So
used to
that's
be
really
very high on Barker. I'm just going with the second part of the hype in there. I used to be really high on him, and he didn't stagnate, but he got hurt.
yeah,
And I want to see him get back to pre-injury form before I make some kind of call on him.
right.
But yeah, he was at one point the best center prospect in the org. Granted, he was the only center prospect in
The
the
only one, yeah.
organization.
Another player I'm thinking about that could possibly break through at some point. I mean, they have to see what they have him in at some point, but Yaroslav Shemlash, I think that's how you say it.
I I don't know. There's a C, an H, and an M.
Well,
And
it looks
those
like
letters, like the C and the H, fine, but the M, I mean, little
yeah.
help here, guys.
I heard the Hartford guy say Shemlash.
So does
I'm just gonna
Hemlosh.
yeah, Hemlash or something like that, but
I, I
he
don't know.
apparently is a guy that I think could probably make some noise because it seems like he causes quite a bit of a stir down in Hartford. I could probably be wrong. Like probably if Hope hears this and calls me out on some BS maybe, but just from the
So on
calls.
Hemlosh, 22 years old, just turned 22 in July. Fifth round pick, 2021. Just for the folks that aren't aware, 6'5", 220.
Oh,
He's a
big
big
boy.
boy. He can move though. He's a good skater.
So it's like
Um,
Edstrom,
yes, a
which I'm very
righty,
glad
by the way.
I'm very glad I was always on that train and no one can tell me otherwise.
No, I always liked Edstrom from when I was still doing those around the farm posts when I was trying and failing miserably to consolidate stats every day from the guys playing internationally. And God, those things took me hours to write, and nobody ever read them. So anyway, um, he put up 12, 17, 29 in his first full season in Hartford, but I'm not a big plus minus guy until we get to the extremes. And Hartford was a train wreck, but he was a minus 37. So there's some holes in his game, but if he works on the defensive side of things, I can see him getting a call later in the season, like you said.
He's also 22.
He is
So
22, and this is
you know
really only his second pro season.
where were you at 22? Were you at the threat of losing your job at 22?
At 22 years old, I was in grad school, getting my MBA.
Okay. All right, don't brag, okay? Anyways, I'm just being stupid. I went to a community
Listen,
college.
I learned one of the best things I could ever learn, and it has nothing to do with business and getting my MBA or anything. And this is important for anybody who has any public speaking role or anything like that. Your brain processes faster than your mouth can speak. And that's why people say and and like while they're speaking. It's a natural filler for them while the brain catches up. What if you can train yourself to catch that and just take a breath, your brain catches up and you sound better while you're talking.
Yes.
Best piece of advice I've ever gotten, best thing I ever learned in any school, aside from kindergarten.
That's actually something that they teach you in speech classes, because what ends up happening is that when you go and present stuff, and when you're actually trying to consciously think about it, you tend to freeze up, but all you have to do is pause, and then you just say whatever your brain was trying to say. That, I remember, was something that my speech professor had told me, and I made sure that I tried to execute that as much as possible. But I've gotten a bit lazy over the years, so I apologize if I've ummed and awed my way on this podcast. But I get that's actually good advice. So, anyways, all
Thank you.
right. So we're about 21 minutes into this recording. We're trying to do as much as we can to make sure we can give you, some stuff to talk about. But now let's get to some questions. There you go. See, there you go.
Yeah, you go. You said
I'm catching. Well, that's more of a reflex.
All right, so we got a couple on Blue Sky while
Yes,
I
sir.
look to open up the post on the site. So we have two people that ask questions, but one of them is multiple questions. Do you want to read them or do you want me
I
to?
have them here. I have
All
them here.
right, all
All right.
yours, Mr. Producer.
So, well, that's my job. So thank you.
Fair.
I'm here. I'm here to make your life easier, Dave. And maybe I'm not doing a good job at that in certain aspects, but that's what I'm here for,
I
right?
mean, I do pay you somewhat well, I think. So
Well, I'm not complaining, Dave. I'm not saying I am complaining. Okay, shoot. That whatever I won't say the amount, of course, but whatever you've given me has got me out of some pretty crazy holes. I'll tell you that.
I
Anyway,
am happy that the site is doing well enough that I'm able to pay everybody.
I have an eating problem. No, I'm kidding. I don't have an eating problem. I'm just fat. I'm not fat. I eat a lot.
You're
Okay,
still talking.
that is true. Yes, I am. I know what I'm saying. Anyways, all right. So this first question comes from DSam at DSam1921, bluesky.social, and he gives us this sort of, I guess, this sort of an amalgamation of questions, but we'll run through it.
Do one at a time because there's a few.
Okay, so he says we can all agree the Adam Fox. Speaking of, we can all agree the Adam Fox discourse has been absolutely ridiculous. But is it fair to say that he is limited as a D man? What do you think? What do you
Oh
think
no,
the
no, that's
coaching
the first one, right?
is
Or
it?
there's more.
Well, I think it's
What do you think?
it
No.
is
Let's
fair.
start with that one because I disagree with that, and then he's got a couple of other questions that kind of
Okay,
play into it.
so he says that Adam Fox discourse has been ridiculous, but it is fair to say he is limited as a D man. Go.
I completely disagree. I think people are looking at last year and saying, "Oh, he's fading. Oh, he's bad." And I'm not even talking about the knee injury, which significantly limited his mobility. As JL said, you kind of need your legs to be able to skate in hockey and play defense. I think this is something that is more of a new age defenseman discussion. So I grew up with the best defensemen being the Jeff Booms, the Ulf Samuelsons. Those are the guys you wanted that nobody ever wanted to play against. That's not the case anymore. Even Vlad Gavrikov isn't really somebody who fits the Boom or Samuelson mold. But the best defensemen, the Cale Makars, the Adam Foxes, the Roman Yossis, they are excellent defensemen because they don't spend their entire shift in the defensive zone. Sorry. They don't spend their entire shift in the defensive zone. When they have an appropriate partner and system, and that's a huge caveat there. When they have those going for them, they retrieve the puck on a dump in and they get the puck up the ice as fast as possible. They already know where they're going with the puck before they have it. That makes, to me, a top defenseman in the league because you're not in the defensive zone. The whole point of this game is to spend time in the offensive zone and to limit damage against when you can't be in the offensive zone. Fox does both.
Okay.
And it's not a coincidence that both Keandre Miller and Carson Soucy had ridiculous numbers when paired with Fox. The only one who didn't was Ryan Lindgren because, Ryan Lindgren couldn't skate.
Well, Lindgren was actually funny enough is Adam Fox was the only one that Adam Fox was the only one that couldn't save Ryan Lindgren. Funny enough, but everything else seems to check out. The second part of this question is I agree with you, by the way. Not to just quick reply that, but the next part of this question is what do you think the coaching staff can do to put Fox in a situation where he gets the best minutes for him without having to be involved in almost all situations, a la McDonough? Before you answer that, Dave, I'll just say that.
You go first. You go first on that one. I hogged the first one.
So just to quickly answer that, because it's just really something just to it doesn't really merit. Not that it's a bad point, but I mean, basically going off of what you said, Dave, you want Adam Fox in all those situations. You want him there. That's why you pay him the money he's getting, the 9 and change. Was it 8 or 9? 8 or 9 million?
9.5, I think.
So he's like obviously under market, but that's what you pay him that money for.
Yeah, you play your best guys.
I mean, what was it? McDavid started penalty killing not too long ago. You want your elite guys to be out there, and for a while, when they were still considered top cream of the crop, Zibanejad and Kreider played both sides of the puck.
Kreider didn't kill penalties until David Quinn came along.
Right, and look what happened. It turned out well. So I think just having a guy like Fox in every situation is good, and he's built for that. Fox is definitely built for that. We see it. Fox has not shown to me that he can't do well in those situations. Granted, could you talk about a little overuse here and there? Yeah, but he's built for that. That's something that he can do. So I think he should just continue to go out and whenever he wants, or on the penalty kill, on the power play, by all means. And then the last part of his question says, given his recent string of injuries and the defensive core still not being too deep after the first pair, could Fox have to play in more situations than we would like, or do you see Sullivan being able to get the most out of the D without having to throw him out a lot because of necessity?
That is interesting.
I will say this. I think the D-core is better than what people think. Just to quickly say, I think we do this thing, and this is something that if you're a New York baseball fan, and a New York football fan too, or basically a fan of any New York sports, is we're so hard on our athletes that we sometimes forget that these guys are really good. And in the case of the Rangers, although it hasn't been sunshine and roses, obviously, I think there's still a tremendous amount of talent on this team. It's not to say that they're all elite, but I mean, you're going to tell me that Braden Schneider or even Carson Soucy to a degree isn't better than what the Buffalo Sabres are throwing out there, or better than what, the San Jose Sharks are throwing out there at certain points on defense. So I think I think what that would boil down to is just about usage. And I think what Sullivan and the coaching staff will try to do is utilize the players. It's essentially what this is reminding me of is essentially Aaron Glenn. I'm using football reference. Aaron Glenn using Sauce Gardner against the top receiver on the other team. Why on earth was Robert Saleh using Sauce Gardner against the second best wide receiver on other teams? Why were we throwing DJ Reed and Michael Carter? Two good defensive backs in their own right. But why are they on like CeeDee Lamb and a couple of those guys that are similar in that? That's the thing on this side is uh it's all about usage.
That's a good point. But I'm going to nitpick on one thing, and that is it where Fox is playing. I think Fox should play all three strengths. I think he should be top pairing defenseman, power play one, penalty kill one. I do think Sully should look to get him away from top competition against. And I say that because you want your best defenseman. Sorry, let me back up. My brain got ahead of myself there, coming full circle. You want your best offensive play driver on the blue line, who is Fox. He is their best defenseman, and he is their best offensive play driver. You want him out there in the offensive zone against weaker competition so he can feast. You don't want to. You don't need to shelter him, but you want to give him favorable matchups. And I am a very firm believer in a bit of a matchup shakeup in the way that most NHL coaches go through this. Normally, we see a shutdown defense pair, we see a low event defense pair, third pair, and then we have your top defense. But we have guys that can move the puck up the ice, things like that. And the shutdown pair in particular, the Miller Trouba pair, tons of defensive zone starts, always against top competition. I don't agree with that approach. I think forward lines should be your player matchups, where you get, say, the fourth line for the Rangers is Edstrom, Carrick, and Taylor Radish. That's a phenomenal shutdown line.
Mm-hmm.
You want them defensive zone starts against the Crosbys, against the Malkins, et cetera, et cetera. But you don't want to match up your defensemen like that. I prefer to have the defenseman go based off zone. You want Adam Fox in the offensive zone. You're going to want your defense pair that can be better at holding their own in the defensive zone, but still shift the puck up the ice as your defensive zone guys. And then your third pair can just be a 50-50 zone start split. But it's a bit of a change in how we normally see matchups. And I don't know what Sully does. I really don't. But that is something I'd prefer to see is forwards matching up against forwards and defensemen matching up for zone starts. I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I guess that just also falls into the whole deployment aspect of things. And
Yes.
I think just in terms of, kind of getting everybody familiar with different types of situations creates better hockey players, so you don't just become overly reliant on one guy in one situation, because then that could actually turn into some form of burnout, and you don't want that. It's more of just, kind of spreading out the workload a little bit, so to speak. Um, there it is again. So see, now you said that.
That was only just like anecdotal we were talking about. You don't have to, beat yourself up over it, dude.
I know, but I am a comm major for the record. But just to end the point though is, it's more just something that you could It's just a deployment thing. But we have to see
Yeah.
what Sully's tendencies are because we only know what we've seen on the other side of the bench, on the other bench rather. So,
Yep.
but I mean, Sully is successful in more ways than one. So I'm more than willing to run with what he's done, and kind of more than willing to run what he's gonna do because no one else has been able to crack the code yet. All right. Next question comes from Ryano79 at bsky.social. And I love how he starts this question. Fantasyland question. First off, I'll tell you this before I go in because I'm reading the question. It's really not that far off. It's not as impossible as people think. But Fantasyland question. McDavid is said to probably be staying in Edmonton, which apparently I've heard that they haven't had extension talks yet, but it is also September. McDavid is said to probably be staying in Edmonton. But if not, look for the Rangers and Toronto. A lot can change, but looking at all three rosters without McDavid or any UFA in 26-27, $104 million cap. And am I crazy? But NYR is better. But NYR is the better of the three options, even without Panarin, who was probably re-signing.
So the question is
Hmm.
basically, are the Rangers the best option of Edmonton, Toronto, and the Rangers for
McDavid.
McDavid? I mean, listen, we're biased. I don't think Toronto is the right fit because they're just right back to where they started with the big four and no depth.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that works. I think he stays in Edmonton. I really do. I would love to have McDavid here. I mean, good God, it's Connor McDavid.
I know.
And I'm biased. He would instantly be the top line center. JT Miller shifts to 2C.
Trocheck third.
Trocheck's the third line center.
Mhm.
Zibanejad gets on the wing if he's still a Ranger, and the Rangers can fit McDavid without getting rid of Zibanejad, mind you. They will be able to. At that point, Panarin would be gone unless he's taking a significant discount.
Which I mean,
Doable, but
it is, but depending on what he wants, I don't necessarily. In terms of Panarin, he more than if he's gonna resign, he's definitely not gonna sign for 11. But I think that obviously at this point that cap, if the McDavid option is really available, I think the cap is used better for that.
yes,
You
absolutely. A center.
Yeah, he's a center, and you make up for whatever you lose in terms of scoring with Panarin.
He's the
So
best player in hockey. I
yeah, he's the
mean,
best. Yeah, exactly. That's the point. I'm circling to that.
yeah.
So, but I don't, maybe this is just me being pie in the sky sort of thing, because I'm a very optimistic person as I watch my baseball team get swept by a bunch of dirtbags from Philly. Uh, but I still think they'll make the playoffs. Funny enough, there's Mr. That's what I mean with the optimism. The Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm too hopeful, but I think I really think that there is a chance that McDavid could really come here. And knowing how James Dolan is, you're going to tell me he's not going if he does not resign and he becomes available to market, you're not gonna tell me James Dolan's not gonna tell Chris Drury, "Go and get that guy." Because clearly, if you look at the way that they're constructing the roster, it's clearly what they're trying to go for, you
Yes.
know?
They have
Like, look
$28 million in cap space next season. 28 million, and they only have to re-sign Braden Schneider.
yeah. So, you let Panarin walk and you go take a crack at it. I don't see why not. That's something that I think is still very possible at this juncture. I know hockey players can be kind of boring in that aspect. They're not really going for the exciting contracts. So maybe he signs as an extension before January, but around this, during the regular season. But I mean, if he's there, you go after it, and I don't see how the Rangers don't make a shot at it, but I don't think it's as fantasy land as people think it is, but maybe I'm crazy. But all right, next question. This comes from G8 Lafreniere. I'm now on the website. Thank you again for submitting your questions on socials and also submitting your questions on the blog. So G8 Lafreniere asks us, I know I'm late. No, you're not. But I'm curious to see what you guys think of the Kirill situation.
I was hoping somebody was going to ask this
Does
question.
he not taking that deal mean he is on the move? Are we in the mix? Not that we have the cap space at the moment, but things can change rapidly for that type of player. Or is he testing the market since the cap is going up so much?
So the Rangers, just the money situation. Kaprizov is in the final year of his contract, paying him $9 million this season. The Rangers have $500,000 in cap space, slightly less than the $9 million needed, slightly. Are they in on him? Who knows? Are they at least going to put a feeler out there? Absolutely. It's Kirill freaking Kaprizov.
Crazy not to.
I know. He would certainly, if the Rangers go this route, Artemi Panarin is not getting re-signed. I'm not losing sleep over that one.
Yeah, same.
Not even the off-ice issues. Just Panarin's going to be 34. Kaprizov is what, 27?
Yeah, but Kaprizov, yeah, he's young. He's young, way younger. Kaprizov replicates Panarin's production and then some.
Yep.
He's actually a better skater than Panarin too.
Yes.
And look,
Kaprizov is very good.
Yeah, and look, I'll say this. Speaking hockey only, I know I have to always preface this. Panarin was my favorite player, and I liked what he brought with the team. But if you're telling me I get to switch Kaprizov with Panarin with Kaprizov, I'm 100% doing it.
Yeah, no matter what, you do it.
No matter what.
The thing is, how do you fit him? Will the Rangers want to, now we can talk about off-ice crap. Will the Rangers want to get rid of what could be and what had been rumored to be a locker room distraction? Will Minnesota accept, say, a Panarin plus for Kaprizov swap? Do the Rangers even need to add to that? Because I would argue, aside from age, which won't apply to pending unrestricted free agents, they're comparable value, trade value, because we're both expiring contracts. Age is not going to play a role in that because they're both elite wingers. Maybe the Rangers need to add a sweetener, throw in an Offman for Kaprizov and a mid-round pick.
I'd do it if that's what they
In
want.
a heartbeat.
Take it and run.
Yeah.
Take it and run. You're not gonna get any refusal from me on that.
Yeah.
So
The Rangers will be in on it. Whether that has legs remains to be seen. I'm also just seeing if they need Will Borgen, because I hate that contract.
I don't think that contract is as bad as people are making it out to be, but that's
It's not, because the cap's it's 4% of the cap. It's not that big of a deal.
it's not. It's really not. It's just I don't think Will Borgen is going to prevent them from making any significant moves. It's not like
No,
they signed him to
it's
like an
not.
8 million, like they didn't sign him to an Adam Fox contract. It's like, oh hey, he can't skate, which is not true, by the way. But all right,
Yeah.
so next question comes from Two Line Passes, and he asks, which new player on the roster will make the biggest impact the fastest?
Gavrikov.
Gavrikov. That's kind of given. Although I will say, uh, would Gabe Perreault fit in that sort of degree? I mean, he did technically play for the team towards the end of the season, but I don't know if it was enough to really kind of make him a solidified member of the roster. So if it's not if it's not Gavrikov, then I think it'll be it could be Scott Morrow. It could be. If it's not Gavrikov, it'll be Scott Morrow if he makes the club. And I don't really think much of Taylor Radish. Eh, you know, I don't think so. But yeah, it's definitely Gavrikov, 100%.
Yeah, it's Gavrikov, but if you're looking for a different type of answer, I'm going to say Brett Berard. I think Berard, if he winds up usurping Othman's spot in the top six, I think Berard puts up 20 goals, 40 points.
Well, it's like Carl Hagelin.
Yeah, minus the hair.
And the speed,
Yes, yes.
but he lacks in the Hagelin speed. He makes up with being a pain to play against,
Oh God, he's a
I
pain in the ass to play against.
which I love to see. And that
The
was one
Rangers
of the
need
big reasons.
players like that. They do.
Yeah, they do. And I think, look, say what you want about Drury, he has a type, and a lot of those types have done reasonably well here. You could even point Will Cooley to him, even though he was in the organization. You could definitely he had an input on Will Cooley, which, by the way, still legendary-ish draft that year. By the way, all right. So final question. Well, there's a couple in this one here.
Yep. Captain
This is
Jack's got three of them.
Captain Jack, thank you again. Thank you to Two Line Passes and to G8 Lafreniere, of course. And continue to send us your stuff. We like talking. Well, I do. I don't know about Dave, but okay. So, Captain Jack's first inquiry is one: will there be a game thread for the rookie games, Dave?
As long as I know when they are, absolutely.
They're Friday and this literally the day this is being released on Friday and Saturday.
Oh,
Both those days. Yes, they are this weekend.
can you do me a favor, JL?
Yes.
Can you text me the dates and times of these games? Because I have so much on my plate with work and the girls that, like, to give an example, I have an eye doctor appointment tomorrow. I thought it was at 8:30, 9 o'clock. No, no, I'm an idiot and scheduled for 8 a.m. and I have to drive in rush hour traffic. So that was not well planned out by me. I totally forgot. So I just don't know where I am anymore. So what year is it basically? So yeah, please, and as long as I remember to do it. So if they're not up, blame JL.
That's not my fault. I'm
You
texting
have
it to you right
you have to
I'm
text me the
texting it to
stuff.
you right now. Look, I'm putting this on the record. I am sending you a link that has the information that's needed for
You're making me do the work. Why don't you just type in tomorrow
because
7 p.m.
I'm typing with one hand and it's
I
easier.
don't want to know what you're doing with the other hand.
I'm holding the microphone, David. All you have to do is click the link. It's 2 seconds. So if he does remember, then yes, Captain Jack, there will be a thread for the games.
Yes.
I initially wanted to go, but I have to work Perth Amboy Day. But also, I will be at City Field, unfortunately, tomorrow night and Saturday, so I can't make it. And obviously, it's part of my Mets season ticket plan, so I'm not going to forego it. I was thinking about going, but I said, I was going to go to the Friday game, but my buddy wanted to get tickets. But I will definitely try that next year if they still do it. Number two from Captain Jack, because we're still answering questions. Othman, 195 pounds official weigh-in up from 178. Perot, 180 pounds official weigh-in up from 170. Sikora, 190 to 195 pounds up from 179. Your thoughts?
I'm assuming that they did this the right way and they didn't just eat boxes of Thin Mints the way I would gain weight.
Let's assume right. Yeah.
Yeah, keep in mind I bought 24 boxes in March. I'm down to 5. Anyway, and I don't know how, but I managed to keep all the weight off. Thank you. Get a dog, people. If you're really looking to lose weight, just get a dog.
And just have a couple kids.
Well, yes, I mean them coughing into my eyeball certainly helped, but I get out and I walk Rocket 3 times a day, a minimum half mile when it's cold. But when we get into the beautiful weather like we had today, each walk was a mile and a half, 2 miles. He loves it. I'm able to eat a box of Thin Mints in one sitting, and I don't really gain any weight actually because I'm out. I'm walking around. Walking is exercise, folks.
Yes, it's actually
Anyway,
walking it before you go on. Walking is a better exercise than running. You're still exercising and putting less stress on your knees.
yep, exactly. Anyway, assuming they did it the right way, this is good. I can only see this as a good thing. Sakura's doubters said that he was too small. And I hate when people say, "Oh, they're big. Oh, they're small." You're talking about height. Sakura is shorter, if I remember correctly. He's like 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah, he's a tiny man.
Yeah. And
Height wise,
Perot
yeah.
and Othman are both over 6 foot, I believe. I'm not looking this up right away, but it's strength that matters. Zuccarello, I keep going back to him. That Zuccarello's 5'6", and that's being generous.
5'6" with a stick taller than he is.
5'6", what?
5'6" and a stick that's taller than he is.
I don't. What the fuck are you talking about? I
There,
am so confused by what that is. That a saying?
no,
And a stick taller than he
he
is?
actually for some time had a stick that was probably about as tall as he.
Oh god, a hockey stick. Oh my god, this is where my brain's at.
Yeah, I'm
I
talking.
thought you meant
I'm not,
like a tree stick, and I'm like, what are you talking
no, I'm
about?
talking about his hockey stick. I
Oh my
assumed
god.
you knew. I assumed that
No,
there
yes, I
was
know what you're talking about. My
there was
brain
a
isn't braining. All
there
right.
was a thing going around when he was a Ranger, and I can't remember exactly where I saw it, but there was a report going around that he had. I was gonna say the Mets because I'm watching SNY. The he had a hockey stick that was either as tall as he was or about the height. So, which is it's a feat because if you ever try to play with a stick that's kind of tall and it's a bit wonky, you know. So
Anyway, yeah,
good.
now that I know what you're talking about, you're talking about bigger sticks and you're typing with one hand. I don't know.
Mine out of the gutter, David.
Yeah, I'm fully aware. Um, Assuming again they did this the right way, I think strength will matter. That was a big knock on, at the very least, Othman and Perot when they got their looks last year. That they were kind of getting bumped off the puck a little much.
Yeah.
So assuming it was done right, assuming it's all core and leg strength, and they're building it properly, this is good. And hopefully, this means that the kids are taking a little bit more control over how they train, and that the Rangers are actually doing things the right way with getting the kids up to the NHL level. The
Mhm.
Rangers have a terrible history with this. So if
Yes.
they're able to, if if there's one thing that I'm really hoping Chris Drury does, aside from roster building, it's rebuilding the Rangers' ability to develop players because they haven't been able to ever. Every elite player has fallen into their laps,
Right.
and they need to be able to develop talent. If this is the first step, then this is good. I don't see a negative unless they just got fat.
Which is probably not the case, but
I'm assuming it's not the case. If they got
right.
fat, then they got fat, and that's a problem,
No,
and that's
I
on
I
them.
de right. I definitely agree. Uh, Sakura, I harken back to obviously Sakura, but also Martin Saint to Zuccarello, but also to Martin Saint Louis when it comes to height. Height doesn't necessarily matter as much when you're stupid strong. And I think for the type of game that all three of these players are trying to play, I think more muscle because it's not get fat. Let's not remember that. You see these guys putting on weight, it's more than likely all muscle. They're not like me and Dave, where he's either chugging down Thin Mints or I'm over here eating, slices of pizza out my wazoo. No, that's not it. And I can't believe I just said wazoo on a podcast. Um, but these guys, I think what will benefit Perot is the gain in weight or in muscle because the thing about Perot that I noticed is he knows where he has this great situational awareness. Like you see it live, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if he ends up on the team at some point this season, which he will, and you haven't seen him play live, and you haven't really seen him in his extended, college, career, or at least just on the ice, you will see what I'm talking about. I always like to reference the game, his first game up when they were playing Minnesota. Uh, if Alexis Lafreniere knew how to bank a puck in from the corner, I would have hit my parlay because I did put in for Perot for a point. There was this play where he made a nice pass that he was able to find Lafreniere into the corner of the net, but he couldn't bank it in, and he was able to push a puck out with like a guy or two on top of him and find the player in like a corner and was able to get a decent chance through. Othman, that was always the thing about him, was that he gets knocked off the puck easy. He definitely put on a little more weight from before when I made my initial criticism when he got cut in camp, even though he played well. I think that was the year of Laviolette's first season, if I'm remembering correctly. It was either Laviolette's first season or Gallant's last season. But Othman had a really good camp, but he was getting knocked off the puck. And I said he needs to put on weight. So going from 178 to 190, I think that will do him well. And hopefully that translates to more solid play on the ice. And so finally, the number 3 from Captain Jack is, if Noah Laba outplays Carrick and Parsonen in camp, what do you do with him? Easy. Call him up.
Oh God, yeah, yeah.
That's it.
Leave him there.
Honestly,
Send Parsonen down. I am
right.
very vocal that I don't believe Parsonen is an answer to any center questions. If Noah
Well,
Lava outplays, he doesn't even have to outplay Sam Carrick. If he just outplays Yusuf Parsonen in camp, give him an extended look. Keep Parsonen as a spare part if you're afraid of losing him on waivers. Um, and that's it. I think it's that simple. I really do.
yeah. No, I'm the same, and I've been a very vocal advocate for Huso Parsonen. Uh, I think he has some redeemable qualities. I want to see how he is under Sullivan before I can really make a determination on how I feel afterwards. And I say that because there were some things that I saw him do under Laviolette, but I feel like he got buried under a lot of things in the mix of everything and whatnot. But if Noah Lava, who is younger and obviously more controlled cost wise, if he outplays him, and he's obviously a much better player too. Seems like Lava has a bit more of an offensive upside. He's there. Carrick will stay your 4C. Carrick is signed for that. It reminds me similar of what happened when the Rangers had Nick Bonino, and I forget who the fourth line center was at the time, but or whatever happened. Something happened to the center depth where Bonino ended up playing third center, and I
Oh
think
yeah, somebody got hurt.
somebody got hurt. I'm trying to remember who
Yeah.
it was, but when Nick Bonino was playing third line center, oh, it was Hedel. That's right. It was Hedel.
Yes, yes, Edel
It
got
was
hurt.
Hedel when he got hit against Carolina the same day Fox got hurt. You had Nick Bonino playing third center, and I think you might have said this, that if Nick Bonino is your third center, then we have a problem. And
Yes.
I distinctly remember that, and being at the Garden and seeing that, I'm thinking, damn, this kind of sucks. But I mean, they're winning, but kind of sucks at the same time. They were able to pull off some things, but uh, yeah, if Laba's out there, and you see a lot of good things from Laba in his college days. I think was he in Hartford last season? He might have been.
Lava, yes, he was in Hartford last season. Oh,
I didn't really.
let me double check. Is one of them? One second. I might be getting him mixed up. He played 11 games in Hartford.
Yeah, because I know he was still in college last season. He
Yes, I
probably
got
played
him
on an
confused with.
ATO.
Yeah, I got it confused with what's his face that we were just talking
Brick.
about. No, Barker.
Oh, Barker. Okay. So, there was a lot of good signs from Laba that we saw. We saw a lot of promising signs when he was in college, and you could tell he was evolving, he was getting better, and I think they need a bit more sandpaper down the middle on the bottom end. So I think if he plays well, shoot, stick him in there. Why not?
Yeah,
So,
I really like Noah Lava, and I believe he is Hope's favorite prospect at this point.
yes, yes, and I would like for him to be on this team if he does outplay. And honestly, I hope he does, because it
So
it
do I.
it gives you it gives the Rangers another weapon to use. Because look, I'll say this, and this is where a lot of my optimism comes in, especially after last season's debacle.
Oh god.
It can't get any worse. And
And you know it can't get worse.
I know we've said that we refrain from talking about last season, but it's really more of just like the final game against Tampa Bay, and that's your line of demarcation. It's just a reference point at this juncture. Anything would be better, and you just hope that whatever they throw out there will stick. And as much as I'm bullish on management, which I will touch on something before we end, there was something that happened that I just remembered that we can touch on real quick.
Mm-hmm.
We did have quite
Finish your thought, and then
substantial,
we'll get to
yeah, quite substantial conversation about it. But don't yell at me, Dave.
it.
Anyways, so yeah, just I think it'd be good to just kind of throw it at the wall and see if it sticks. For a guy like Laba, how much more would he need in Hartford? Truth be told, let him grow his wings out here a little bit, and we want to work him around with Sully and see what he does, and might as well see if it works. But
Yeah, maybe he's this
hey,
year's Derek Stepan.
yeah, there you go. Which I still can't believe
Nobody
I
expected him to
remember that.
make the team out of camp, and look at that, he did. And McDonough was the one that got sent back down.
Which hey, fast forward to January that year, McDonough was here. Um,
Yep.
anyways, so thank you for the questions. We appreciate it. Thank you for sharing them. For asking. Not for asking. Thank you for sharing your questions on the socials. Oh gosh, my brain. It's 9 o'clock.
Are you okay?
I think I just
Are
had
you having a stroke?
I just had a moment. I'm sorry. Thank you for submitting your questions, and thank you for submitting them on the blog and on the socials. We appreciate it. So now, one final thing. The Rangers made some management moves. So most notably, Ryan Martin gets bumped up somehow, and they bring back Ryan Clough, and Blake Wheeler is back in the fold for the
Hmm.
hockey operations aspect. So the determination that I made from this, and there was another one. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the gentleman's name, but he also got elevated from, I guess, a hockey ops position to the role that Ryan Martin had as the assistant general manager.
Jim Sullivan.
Yes. Jim
Jim Sullivan.
Sullivan. Okay, thank you. And then Ryan Martin got promoted to associate general manager.
Associate.
So my reading of this is Drury is learning from his mistakes.
He
You
is very
don't
good at learning from his mistakes. I will give him credit there.
you don't bring in a guy like Blake Wheeler, who was universally loved, and a guy like Ryan Clough, if they're not going to be in some form or another a direct liaison to the clubhouse. And that's something that I think we've discussed ad nauseum on this podcast, at how Drury handles things in terms of relations. And I think that if that's the case, which I'm highly thinking it is, I think that's very reasonable and smart on Drury's part to have that buffer with a guy like Ryan Clough, who is a clubhouse guy, and Blake Wheeler, who is also a clubhouse guy, but they also get front office experience as well. I think this is good for the team. The more hands that can relay messages and soothe things, I think would be a lot better for the team. You're learning a lot from the mistakes that you've made, and I think they're great moves. And plus, I just like Blake Wheeler. I just really like him.
I really like Blake Wheeler as he was everything that the Rangers needed him to be when he was here. He was just in a position that he shouldn't be. He shouldn't have been a top line winger at that point.
Right.
All it was. I like Blake Wheeler.
And it's a shame that we didn't get more from him. I would have loved to have gotten Wheeler a year or two prior when he was still a bit more nimble with his legs. And it's a shame how his season ended, because when he was here and you put him in the right role, he was very effective. He wasn't that great of a skater anymore, but he was still reasonably effective. And I really think him and Quick really brought the team together. So that's why I think that Wheeler is going to be one of the guys that helps kind of massage a lot of the issues that come communication wise, because it's essentially still majority of the same team from 2 years ago. So I think bringing in a guy like that would help. And then Ryan Clough, I mean, I liked him in his brief time here. Just sucks that he couldn't come back, but he was very oft injured towards the end. But good
Yep.
stuff by good stuff by the Rangers. Anyways, that'll put a wrap on today's podcast.
I
Listen
have
to this.
one thing that I want to
Oh,
add. It's not hockey related. And I
okay.
think it's a good way to end because, and this is not hockey, this is real world related. And I think it's important. It's a post from Simu Liu, who played Shang-Chi in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Hmm.
And I think this is important for everybody to hear because not all of us live online, but a lot of people do. Social media is a problem. And this is what he said. I am here once again to remind you that your algorithm is curated by the tech companies in order to make you angry and therefore engaged. There
Mm,
are people who use that to their advantage in moments like this week to try to get famous. None of this is real. None of that is real. Do not believe your algorithms. Believe in conversations you have in real life. Believe that most people are good. And I think that message that he's sending is very important. Get off the internet, go outside, have real conversations, meet real people. I cannot stress this enough. Social media isn't real. Dating back, one of the reasons why I left Twitter was because none of the engagement was real anymore.
hmm.
And I have never been happier. That's a lie. I'm much happier when I sleep, but that's a whole separate story. Um,
I get it. I know what you mean.
but we have been, this is a form of control, a somewhat entertaining form of control. When you get to, like, I use Instagram now to watch videos from accounts like kids getting hurt, which is hilarious when a kid gets hit in the face with a giant inflatable ball because the dad missed a kick and hit him right in the face. I think that's hilarious. The guy that does Skeletor's voice has his own Instagram account. I think he's hilarious. So don't believe the reactions and everything you see on social media. It's not real. The way Instagram is a highlight reel of your friends' lives is the same way Twitter and Blue Sky and Reddit and all of it is. It's not even a highlight reel. It's just not reflective of real life. 95% of people in this world live in that middle ground that can have real conversations. You don't see that on social media.
Hmm.
Anyway, I felt that was important to say.
No,
Touch on real world topics right now.
nope. I agree 100%, especially with the week that we've had and the discourse that we've seen go over online over the last couple of years. The phones give us a bit of a dopamine hit, so we become attached to the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And what ends up happening is that the reality that is being perceived on the phones is not something that's actually happening in real life. You know, people aren't just going around in different places just randomly spouting crazy stuff unless you're like on the New York City subway, you know. But social media is fake. I agree. You touched on it so well. I don't even know what else I can add to it. Social media is fake. Enjoy your surroundings, live in the moment, and just be a good person unto others, and don't
Yeah.
believe the don't just it's all fabricated. I agree.
Just yeah, be a good person.
Hmm.
That's all I can say.
Yep. Well, that's a good way to end the podcast. That was very enlightening. That was actually I'm actually kind of happy you shared that because I feel like that's something that I think we need to I don't know why we have to be reminded of it all the time, but I think because the advancement of technology has grown so much even over the last 5 years that we tend to become more reliant on these devices than ever, and these do alter our brain chemistry. So
Yes, it does.
it
It
really
really
over
does.
over the last 20 years, these things have altered our brain chemistry, and it has desensitized us, it has separated us, and it has turned us into machines on certain aspects. And I think that's something we really need to just overall work with better as a society. Anyways, uh, now that's the end of our podcast. Thank you very much for bringing that up, Dave. You know, go and be a good person if you're listening to this, And thank you again for taking the time out to listen. Continue to read our content on the website. For the Patreon subscribers, thank you so much for contributing to the site. We appreciate you, and we appreciate everyone who tunes in, clicks, and listens. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, live at Blue Seats Live. Follow us on Blue Sky at Blue Seats Live. Follow every one of us. Listen to the stuff we do. Watch the stuff we write, and catch you next week on Live from the Blue Seats.